Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be checking out two different handhelds, the PS Vita 1000 and the 2000. We'll go over the differences and ultimately which one you might want to grab if you're in the market for a Vita. So let's start off first here with the PS Vita 1000. This came out all the way back in 2012, which is super hard to believe. It doesn't seem that long ago, but the system is already 10 years old, which just seems insane. But on the PS Vita 1000, you only had two color options. You had this black model that we have here, and then you also had a white model as well. We'll talk about the 2000 later and the color options you have there. The 1000, you definitely have a very premium feeling design. I love the way the 1000 feels in hand. This one I have right here is definitely a little beat. I got this used probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it wasn't even in the best condition then. Yeah, you have a really premium feeling design. It feels like an expensive device. This feels like something that you'd want to take on the go, and you wouldn't have to worry too much. I mean, I know when this came out, it was pretty expensive. The memory cards were expensive, but we'll jump into that later as well. The main reason that people are going to want to go with a PS Vita 1000 over the 2000 is going to be the OLED display. So the screen on this system is absolutely incredible, even in the year 2023. I mean, in 2023, this thing still looks amazing. The colors are sharp, they pop, the screen is super clear. It really doesn't feel like you're playing a 10-year-old system when you're on the 1000. So the OLED display, I know some people don't really care about the OLED display too much. Personally, once you play the OLED, in my opinion, it's going to be hard to go back to an LCD style display or screen. So one thing that might be an issue for some people as well is on the PS Vita 1000, you actually have, it's a proprietary charging port right here. As far as I know, it was only for the Vita, so that is kind of a hassle. And I know that is one thing that people will complain about is that proprietary charging cord. To me, it's not the end of the world. You can get them on Amazon for super cheap. They're not hard to pick up. And I know it's not OEM, but pick one up on Amazon. They're dirt cheap, and they'll work just as good as an OEM one in my opinion. One issue with the 1000 when it first came out was there was no internal memory whatsoever. There was none. So you had to have a memory card, and the expensive PS Vita memory cards definitely did not help the Vita's cause, and I think were part of the reason why it sold so poorly. I don't think the Vita was really given a fair shot, and the expensive memory cards definitely did not help. If these would have launched with, let's say, 8, 16 gigs at the time, that would have been decent enough to get you rolling without a memory card. I think that would have been awesome, man, and it really would have helped. So I'll show you what the memory cards look like here. So this right here is what the PS Vita memory cards looked like. This right here is 32 gigs. The memory cards, like I said, were very expensive. 32 gigs is enough for me. Nowadays, nobody is really using these memory cards just because when you mod your Vita, you can actually do something with an SD card that gives you way more memory, you can store way more games and not have to worry about buying these. And in regards to battery life, the 1000 model, at launch was said to have 5 hours of battery life, which, I don't think is too bad. I know some people might be like, man, 5 hours kind of sucks. I think 5 hours is solid. With a lot of these systems being older now, it's tough. The batteries probably aren't as good and don't have the same life that they had before. But, when I'm sitting in bed playing this or maybe taking it on the go, like when I went overseas last year to Japan, this did the job and, kept me entertained on the flight. Obviously I had to recharge it and then playing it in the airport as well. But like I said, the Vita's premium design, at least on this 1000 model, is fantastic. And I think you'll absolutely love it. It feels, very premium in your hands. Great quality design. In the last bit here on the 1000 is the rear touchpad is actually pretty large. And I know that was a complaint of a lot of people when it first came out. They're like, hey, this touchpad is hella big and it's definitely getting in the way of things when I'm playing games and I'm accidentally hitting it and it's doing things that I don't want it to do. I think it's a cool design how it has all the PlayStation buttons, but on the 2000 you'll see it's actually a bit smaller. All right, so now we're whipping the 2000 out and I'll do a little side by side here. You can see that the 1000 is definitely, quite a bit thicker, quite a bit fatter than the 2000 here. The 2000 is definitely a lighter device. It doesn't feel as premium to me. But what's cool about the 2000 was there were so many different colors available. I'll add some on screen here, or I'll show some, but there were so many different colors and really cool special editions that were, made for the 2000. So here's just another comparison point here. As you can see, the PlayStation buttons, the home button is definitely different. It's more of an oval shape on the 1000, a little more round on the 2000. The D-pad, in my opinion, is pretty much the same. Your triangle, square, circle, X buttons are gonna be pretty much the same as well. I will say around the thumbsticks, the analog sticks, joysticks, whatever you wanna call them, it doesn't look as premium because you don't have that silver lining like you do on the 1000 around them. I know that's something super small, but I think it makes a big difference. And then up here, you'll have Sony on the top of the screen on the 2000 compared to being off to the left here on the 1000, but you'll still have Vita, of course, on the bottom. Here we are checking out the back of the Vitas. As you can see, the 1000 is right here and the rear touchpad is significantly larger. I think the 2000 looks super cool because it just has the PlayStation logo on the back. It's sleek, it's simple. I think it looks a little better. But yeah, I mean, personal preference. You might like one better than the other too. Okay, so right here we have the 2000. I think the 2000 is still a really good looking console. It's slimmer, it's lighter. Like I said, it doesn't feel as premium, but some people might like the feeling of the 2000. I think the finish still looks nice. It's a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but it is what it is, man. A finish like this, then it's gonna have some fingerprints on it. It's not the end of the world. As you can see, I mean, you might be able to notice it. I'm sure you can from the camera alone, but the screen is definitely lacking compared to the OLED. The OLED on the 1000, it pops, the colors are a little deeper. I'm not like some screen freak where I'm like studying TVs and stuff, dude, but it's definitely noticeable. I'm not gonna get into the specs of it and, oh, there's so many pixels and, it looks better. The 1000 is just a better looking screen. To be fair though, this LCD is not bad. Like, I think the LCD is still good. It's not like you're looking at a screen and you're like, my God, what is this thing? I think it still looks good. Most games are gonna look solid on it still. You're not gonna be playing a game and want to throw up in your mouth from the LCD screen. I know some people kind of exaggerate it if you look at PS Vita reviews and maybe comparisons of systems, but the LCD, if you can find a 2000 for cheap, might be worth it. The one pro that I would say is on the Vita 2000 compared to the OG Fat model is this did come with a little bit of internal storage, and by a little bit, I really mean a little bit. It only had 1 gig of internal storage, which I mean is enough to save games, but I mean you're definitely not going to be downloading really any games with 1 gig of internal storage. But I was glad that Sony had kind of woke up and was like, hey, we need to put something on board because people are freaking out about the price of these memory cards. Here is the charging port on the 2000. You have micro USB. I know not a lot of people use micro USB nowadays, but probably, chances are you probably have a couple of these laying around at your house, maybe from old phones or just other old tech that you can use on this instead of having to go out for a 1000 and get that proprietary charging port. So yeah, nice to have micro USB. They also claim that the 2000 has better battery life or a longer lasting battery. I want to say they said it was like 6 hours, which is like an hour increase of the 1000. When I play this, I personally don't notice a huge difference. Maybe some other people do. I think this maybe is slightly better when I play it, but it's nothing that like jumps out at me with in terms of the battery life. And like I said earlier, the 2000, especially in Japan, got so many sick colorways and variants, special editions. I know there's probably a couple out there for the 1000, but the 1000 was primarily black and white. The 2000 has a bunch of nice colors. I know there's like a really cool blue one. I want to say there's a green one that are really cool. And I highly recommend if you're going to buy one of these 2000s, order one from Japan so it's in probably better condition than maybe buying a used one in the US off Marketplace or OfferUp. So that's gonna do it, guys. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with either a 1000 or a 2000. I'm a little biased. I like my 1000 more, even though it is, pretty beat up. As you can see, it's a little rough around the edges here, but I love the 1000. The screen is incredible. I love the premium feel. But on the other hand, I mean, the 2000 is also really sleek. It looks nice. I think it's aged well. I think both of these systems still look pretty good. You're not gonna be playing this out in public and someone's gonna be like, what in the heck is that? Like, these systems still look good. I think you're pretty much good with whatever model you get. Some people are probably going to choose the 1000 because of the OLED screen. Some people might choose the 2000 just because it's an easier one to get for them, or maybe they like that micro USB charging port. But either way, you're good to go with a Vita. It's an underrated system. If you can get your hands on one or have thought about getting your hands on one, I highly recommend it, because in 2023 and the future, there's going to be, continuous homebrew for these systems. There's a pretty good library of games. I know it's not like a huge library of games in terms of what something like the PS2 had, but there's still plenty of fun to be had with the PS Vita.